Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Better Call Saul, Season 4, Episode 4. It's called Talk. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And often titles of these shows will have double meanings and stuff, but almost every single plot in this one actually connects to the title really
It
well.
does, which is rare.
Every single one try to get Jimmy to talk to a therapist. Mike actually being in group therapy. You know, Kim talking to the judge. All these things, all of it.
Mm.
So you know, so where do we start with? I guess we start with Saul. Start with Jimmy,
Yeah, sure, why not?
as you do. He's a title character after all. Uh, Wakes up. He's kind of disgruntled. Kim's in the shower or whatever, and he gets a phone call from a job making him an offer. Hey, come in, be the shift manager or phone sales. And by the way, you forget this show's set in like 2002 until you see the phones, and you're like, oh yeah, okay,
Yeah,
we're in the
every
past.
time.
We're in the past. Uh, but he turns it down. He just, much like we saw last time, he doesn't want the job. He turns it down. Says, oh, things have changed. He makes up an excuse. And what I love about this, afterwards, Kim comes out of the bathroom when he's shaving and tries to recommend that he see a therapist. And I love the look in her face when he says, "Oh, I'll check my schedule." You're scared. You're unemployed.
Yeah.
You're literally looking for work. Um, and so her face,
So of course he's like, no, no, good job, it's cool.
yeah. But that's what I love about it. I love that what makes him actually change his mind. And of course, he's lucky that they accepted him back after he told them no. Because most
Yeah,
jobs would not do that. They would tell you to piss off after such a thing.
I think it depends on the job and how you declined it. Because
Yeah.
it was a pretty polite declination. Just be like, yeah, I'm good,
No,
but
that's fair. It was. And obviously we've seen that he's very good at selling himself. So I guess he made such a good impression that it's like, oh, we've got another chance. Yeah, get him in here. But I love that the trigger for him changing his mind is it's almost when it's like a kid getting into trouble and realizing there's consequences for what he did, and Kim asking that he go see a therapist, and in like a sort of roundabout way, it's him going, "Oh no, she's going to ask me to do things like this if she thinks I'm not okay. I have to pretend to be okay and therefore get the job."
yeah, it's almost a deflection. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'll take the job because that's the lesser of two evils. It's like,
Yes,
well, I'd rather do the job than the therapy. So yeah, go on then.
pretty much. And I thought that was a really neat trigger because it was like right after. And of
Yeah.
course, we see him at his job. He's at this phone shop and is dead. He's bored. He's cleaning floors. He's realigned his. No, do you know what? I have never. This is like the most ridiculous busy work I've ever seen in my life. In any type of like, not even just a phone store, but in any store, is whenever you see an employee just slightly nudging the display of the boxes, and I'm like, you're just killing time. You're killing
Yeah.
time, and you're borderline suicidal. I can tell. Yeah, it's in your
I
eyes.
That was me 3 days ago. Like literally, where I work, we had a set period of time was like, okay, no one's in the store for like an hour and a half. There is no one.
hmm
So what you gonna do? Um, guess I'll make sure all these things are nice and neat, right?
And it literally looks no better or worse after you've nudged everything.
Oh, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, you're
But
just doing it
I feel like I'm doing something because I'm moving things.
for the sake of doing it,
Yeah.
and he's outside. He's hoping that someone shows up, and the phone rings, and it's just the area manager or whatever the job title is. The guy who hired
Guy
him,
who hired him, yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, you settling in? You settling in? How you doing?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is good. This is always quiet this time of week." And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's always been a really slow store, that one."
Yeah,
Uh,
first of all, just take a book.
Yeah, that's the thing. His manager recommends bringing a book. Now, that's not necessarily strange for, like, say, a security guard job or something like that, where yeah, you're kind of sitting
It's
around.
weird in sales.
It's weird in sales to say bring a book to work because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I mean, inventory week when we're getting rid of stuff. I mean, that usually does quite well. He's like, oh, when's that? Oh, you just missed it.
Yes. And of course we were neatly reminded in the scene with Kim that he's only got to go through 10 months till he's a lawyer again,
Yeah, so you won't actually get to it.
so he won't be that far. Yeah.
That's really funny. They happen to sell little stress ball things, and he starts just bouncing that off, which he's done. We've seen them do this before,
Yeah.
with the ball off the wall. That rhymed. I did not mean that. But he starts doing that off the window. I don't know why I thought the window was going to smash like after the third time.
Really?
I don't know why. I was expecting him just to screw up that badly that the entire like window smashes. There's no one else in the store, and he somehow still screws up. That did not happen. So,
No.
but anyway, next day he actually shuts the store when he's not supposed to go off and meet what's his I don't think I ever knew his name. The guy who pulled the job with him last time to steal the little statue. And he gets his paycheck, and well, I say pay, it's cash, but
Yeah.
he gets his share of the earnings. And he's like, hey, this is way more than I was expecting. He's like, oh yeah, it turns out it went for much more than we were predicting.
Yeah, a bit of a bidding war happened.
Yeah. And he's like, hey, I would never have known. You could have, just taken the rest and given me what I was expecting. He's like, no, you got me out of a jam. You were there for me. In fact, have you any other jobs? I like working with you to get. He's like, nah, not really. But,
Yeah, but
I'll find something. I'll find.
Yeah.
I mean, he just stumbled into that one. I don't know how he finds something.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? This is it. Now he's actively searching.
Yes, and I love. Do you know what I love about this show is that the characters are so well defined at this point that when the guy mentions that, oh no, I've got a new phone, you have to go through the vet again. New job, new phone, and you can literally, well, not literally. That's not the right word. That's the millennial use of the word literally, and I hate that use. But you can almost see the light bulb in Jimmy's head light up.
Yes. You can figuratively see it.
Yes. You can see. I'm well aware of the word thank you very much.
Yes, but I thought I'd just, offer it.
But you can see it light up in his head. You know exactly what he's thinking. Now, admittedly, I didn't know exactly what he was going to write on the front of the shop. Like I didn't know what he was actually writing when he was doing it. But I got what the overall gist was going to be, which is that he's going to sell phones to criminals under the guise of, hey, disposable phones. You can be untraceable. Blah 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 blah.
Because that's even in this shitty job where he doesn't even care. He doesn't have to know. He just has to be there for 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
He still has to do well at it.
Which, by the way, see when the manager said bring a book, I'm like, oh, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Give me this job.
Yeah, me too. That'd be great.
The thought of a sales job where there's never any customers, but that's not going to actually threaten your job security is like
ideal,
the dream.
Isn't it?
It's the dream.
It is, yeah. I did notice we're back to getting some painting action this time.
Oh,
First time this season.
That's right. Painting's back. We had that before.
It's been a big theme of the show.
In the office, yeah. Masking your real problems just be a coat of paint. That's simple.
Yeah, exactly.
That's simple. You can't see it. I was doing a roller motion there. You couldn't see it on camera though. But I'm telling you because I felt it was important to my point.
The audio listeners appreciate it too.
I'm sure they do. So, yeah. So he does that, and I think one of the big things here is and obviously from Saul, from Breaking Bad, and we see where he is there. I think what he's actually going to do here is kind of transition into being the vet, into the new one of those, where he's the one who's connecting people up. He's the one who's putting jobs out with each other.
Oh, yeah, because everyone's going to go through him to get the phone.
Yeah.
He's going to get all the numbers and all the contacts.
He's going to circumvent the vet.
Pretty much.
Circumvent.
Even by your standards, that was awful.
Look, I'm a little bit tired. Silly jokes are going to come out, okay? They're going to come out.
But it wasn't even like a silly joke. That was just nonsensical.
Like I said, circumvent the vet, and then I said, oh, there's a similarity there. I can play with that.
But you didn't play with it. You just pointed it out. You just pointed out the similarity.
That's like half a stand-up comedy. Shut up.
It's half a shit stand-up comedy.
So that was Saul's plot of this episode, basically. It was this idea, this light bulb. But you can see where they're going with it. You can see where he's essentially going to take this legit job and turn it into another scheme where he is working with a criminal element because he can turn that into something that's profitable. Because it's Saul and that's what he does. So
pretty much.
And like you say, he could sit around here for 10 months.
That's it. That's all he's got to do, and he knows that.
Yep, but no, he's going to help. He's going to help the criminals get away with things, which is kind of what he did as a lawyer as well, and what he will do as a lawyer, perhaps more importantly.
Yeah.
So in Kim's plot in this episode, she goes to court, just to sit in, just to watch the cases, and
Bit nostalgic.
yeah, a bit nostalgic. And the judge, notices her and recognizes her. Even asks her actually, like, between, one case gets done and he's like, okay, who's up next and blah blah. And he's like, oh, Miss Wexler, are you here for a case today? And she's like, oh no, just observing. He even asks her, he's like, oh, why are you here? And he calls her in. He gets the guard to go over and ask her in for the in recess to come and see him. And he's eating his lunch or whatever.
It's a very shit sounding sandwich. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was not happy.
Oh, no, it wasn't a sandwich. It was a straight up salad.
Was it just?
Because he had a fork. He had a fork, and he was like stabbing things and like just sort of just miserably.
Whatever it was, he was miserable with it.
Yeah, his wife was watching his cholesterol or something like that. It was dear.
What's the point?
Dear. Do you know what the sad part is? I just look at that and go, yeah, in about 30 years' time.
Do you know what? I feel like, what's the point? Enjoy it. Enjoy the food.
All right, maybe I will outlive Connor.
At that point, you're already 60. Why bother? Just enjoy what you got.
60's a good run.
Yeah, it's good. It's good enough, right? What would you rather get to 70 and eat all the nice shit, or get to 85 and be miserable?
Depends how rich I am for those last 15 years.
Touche.
If I'm going to be poor until I'm dead, then yeah, sure, just end it happier earlier. If I'm going to be filthy rich and have a lot of, other fun that's not food related, then yeah, let me live longer.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so it calls her in, and there's a fun little bit. Now, I have not seen the movie The Verdict, so I didn't catch this thing before.
No, I didn't either.
Before Kim said it, and I'm annoyed because this is the sort of thing that I might catch had I seen the movie. But he's basically describing this case that he had recently, and she's like, "That's the plot of The Verdict."
And he's like, "Yeah, it bloody is."
Exactly. I've seen enough lawyers come back to my courtroom looking for that one big case to make themselves feel good again and excited by the law. But it doesn't happen. The next guy I've got pissed on his boss, or threw piss at his boss, or whatever the exact sentence was.
It was piss related.
It was piss related. It was piss and employment.
Yes.
And he's like, no, go back to Mesa Verde, earn a lot of money, maybe give something to charity, feel good about yourself there. And obviously there's the big joke here, the big punchline here is he's like, no, the next time I see you in my court, I'm going to put you to work. And he tells her off for being there. And he comes back out after recess. He's still wiping his mouth from his shitty lunch. He sits down. He's getting some info off one of the plaintiffs or whatever. And then he looks up and she's just sitting there on the exact same spot. And he's just like, yeah, there's this double take where he's like, what? How dare she defy me?
No impact whatsoever.
And she just stares at her. She doesn't even care. She's just deadlocked. And I was sitting thinking about what the purpose behind, or not the purpose, but what is this plot? Why is Kim here? Why is she doing this? And I guess the judge kind of spells it out in a way, but I think more specifically, because obviously he says, oh, you try to feel good again about law. The idea that the Mesa Verde things, this big, almost really boring.
No, I think it's more just about helping people. Like,
no, it is. No, it is.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm getting at. But like, I think at first glance you say, oh, right, okay, so Mesa Verde is this big, like, faceless corporate thing.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, so she got into law maybe initially to help people, but I think the deeper thing here, I think the thing that's even more so than that, is that I think there's guilt about Chuck. I think what Chuck does, because she's heard that he committed suicide. She's heard this.
Yeah.
This
and she
side
kind
of
of only got that Mesa Verde job because of Chuck.
And I think she feels guilty about that. I think that's why she feels so upset about Chuck. And I think, going back to when she had a shouting match with Hamlin and defended Jimmy, I think as much as what she said was true, and as much as I still think she truly believed and keep in mind, this was before she heard the suicide. No, it was after. It was after.
No, it was after.
Because she referenced that in the scene with Rebecca. Yeah. But I think part of that is also her trying to, like, remove her own guilt almost. That, no, he was an asshole and he was horrible to Jimmy. We shouldn't feel bad because we did the right thing because of how he was. But it all goes back to Rebecca last season. He's mentally ill. What's your excuse? Yeah. And I think she feels guilty about that. That, Chuck was actually quite reasonable to her. It wasn't reasonable to Jimmy, and by proxy, Kim felt the effect of that. But I think there's guilt there.
It's true, because Chuck was very decent to pretty much everyone except Jimmy. I mean, blunt. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He was a blunt man, but he was never vindictive with anyone else.
Yeah, and I think the idea of wanting to help people, I think that's turned up to 11 because she feels guilty. I think to feel better, to sort of, rediscover herself, she needs to try and help people. And Mesa Verde is completely self-serving, right? That is
Yeah,
completely just to make money.
and I would throw in when Jimmy was practicing, she would help him out, even in small ways. Even while she was doing most of it, she would still help him out on the stuff. And he was doing, the elder law, and so that would still feel like she was still contributing back to the community in small
Yeah.
ways, even by proxy through Jimmy. And
So,
obviously now that's gone as an avenue.
yeah. Yeah, I think she has guilt. I think she has guilt about Chuck, and I think this is where she's really worried about Saul, is because he's not showing any remorse whatsoever.
Yeah, no. I think it is impressive just how much this season still revolves around Chuck, even though,
Oh yeah, I mean
he's not here.
his presence is still felt, even if he's
It absolutely is.
not quite there. I'm just looking forward to the Force Ghost sequence at next season when he shows up and talks to Saul.
Still won't be jumping the shark though. I'm down for it. It'll just be just a little dream sequence.
So that was Kim's thing, and then I'll save Mike for last because Mike kind of ends the episode. So Nacho is with the cousins, and he identifies this car because there's a scene at the start of the episode that's mostly one take, where Victor's friend, friend feels a bit weird, comrade, colleague, yes, gangster colleague, crony.
Colleague still sounds very formal,
It does.
doesn't it?
You know what I mean. It gives the drugs they got from when they quote unquote jumped Nacho, and so that they have them, so that when Nacho fingers these people as the culprits, and then the cousins will find the drugs there. And of course, there's the big joke here where he's like, okay, right, this is a fortress, there's so many people. I'll go and get a couple of the heads to bring their armies and come in with all these guys. And the cousins just look at each other, not saying a word because they very rarely do that, and just get out and start walking to they get some guns and just start walking towards the place. And Nacho's just sitting there like, what the hell are these crazy bastards doing?
And then they start shooting, and he's like, "Shit, someone's gonna hear this."
Yeah, and he has to start heading. There's more guys show up, and he tries his best. Eventually, he feels the need to go in and try and help. If nothing else, to just kind of really convince them almost that he's still on their side.
Yeah.
But he's struggling. He can barely stand. He's still recovering from his wound. Later on, when his dad finds him in his house, he's sitting there looking sick as shit. He's weak.
It doesn't look too good.
Do you know what I liked about this scene? It was a pretty fun shootout. I liked that the twins weren't just completely Terminators. Like, if there was a moment where it was like, oh no, they're actually kind of pinned down, and they might not quite.
They started off strong because they just had that surprise of just walking in and doing it, right?
Yeah, I think because they've been traditionally presented as these unstoppable killing machines, which is why it's all the more impressive that Hank was able to live to fight another day, as it were.
Indeed.
They did not, if I can finish that damn sentence. But so it was an impressive scene. It was an exciting scene, and then of course the other big scene is when he's with Gus, and basically just tells Gus that he understands what he's doing, it clicks in the scene where he's like, wait a minute, I think I know what you're doing here. Like, you're going to be given that territory because they can't give it to the Salamancas. And Gus is like, you just go rest because we're not done with you. There's more to do later.
Yeah. Also, obviously, when Nacho joins the shootout, and he kills the guy, I think that might be the first time he kills someone, but by the look on his face.
Oh, ever? Okay, yeah.
Ever, yeah.
I
think he's
someone.
been around a lot of violence, obviously, and part of this world, but I don't think he's ever killed someone before.
Yeah, I think the sad thing about Nacho is that he does not want to be part of this life anymore. I mean, obviously we got that last week from what he said to his dad, but I think you feel it in this scene. You feel it when he's with his dad later, and he's just sitting there on the couch.
This arguably feels like when he's in the tightest, right?
Yeah. I think for him, it's starting to feel what it felt like for, like Jesse in the last couple seasons of Breaking Bad, where he feels in too deep and he doesn't really want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting from
I
him.
think it's particularly frustrating for Nacho because he tried to get out, getting out, taking out Hector.
Yeah,
So that okay, once my dad's free and safe, that's it. I'm good to be out. And now he's in even more. So it's like that. It just backfired.
yeah. And the show's done a really good job of making us care about Nacho. You know, there was, I mean, remember that season last year where in, you know, Los Polos Hermanos, when uh, Hector came into this place, and you were kind of worried for all the civilians, but Nacho was clearly making sure that everyone was getting out without any
Yeah.
incident. Like he clearly cared about innocent people being caught in the crossfire. So there's
Oh,
been all
absolutely.
these little moments where it was like, no, he's a human being. He's a criminal and all the rest of it, but he does have a bit of heart and he does have a conscience, and uh, so seeing him like this does still kind of
I
sting.
think he is very reminiscent of Mike in that he kind of does what he has to do in terms of, and if
Mm,
they're involved, they're kind of fair game. But he hates the idea of innocence being involved in it.
yeah, and I think one thing I want to talk about you seen with Gus, and this is not particular to this time with Gus, but I think one of the things going again with the title of the episode being talk is that I think when anyone's talking to Gus, they tend to do a lot of talking, and Gus is very silent. He's
Mm.
until he makes his point at the end, he will sit there. He'll be kind of menacing, and not so much when he's in the
Contemplative, I'd say.
yeah, not so much when he's in his day to day role in the shop, in the restaurant,
Yeah.
but when he's being gangster Gus and got his coat on and he's being all intimidating at night time, he's just very quiet. He's very stoic, and he lets the other one almost talk too much, which shows that they're the nervous one. He was a power play, right? He's the one who's in charge of the power.
Yeah.
The notable exception to this is Mike, and we end
Yes.
the episode with Mike not giving him that power and being, no, I'm the asshole who's going to be quiet and you're going to do the talking.
Yeah. Mike has the benefit of being that silent all day long.
That's true.
Gus has to spend half his day, putting on a front of being the friendly, talkative man, whereas Mike don't have to do that.
I don't think that really affects his ability to do it, but it's
No,
an
no, I
interesting
think
point all the same.
Mike's just he's more practiced. He never has to slip out of that character. He's just no, that's just who I am all the time. Whereas Gus has to be, in and out.
Are you actually saying that Mike has more practice being quiet?
I am, yeah,
That is the most ridiculous observation you could have possibly made about this final scene, but
accurate though.
I won't fight it because I don't really necessarily have a counterpoint. Just that I think it's a silly idea. What I think is the idea. I mean, obviously we know Gus respects Mike, and I think that's partly why is because he almost he matches him or outmatches him even when it comes to
Oh,
like
definitely.
being smart, listening to the details, and assessing the situation. And of course, Mike says, well, if you're going to make a move, then do it. Oh, no one is, because you've got a job for me. So how about you stop dicking me around and just tell me about the job? And that's obviously where we cut to black. This is the end of the episode. This rewind to Mike's story, but I thought it was worth mentioning here because I wanted to contrast the two different scenes with Gus. Because the one with
Yes.
Nacho and then the one with Mike, I feel there's a big difference there. And again, talking's the big theme there. Of course, that's not the only theme here. There's a flashback at the start of the episode where Mike builds his son. Right, you never see young Mike's face. It's all very kind of just the hands and the working when he's hammering the nails in, and he builds like a little cement. It's basically like when like, the actors get like their hands in the pavement kind of thing. It's like a little square of pavement.
Yeah.
The
Slab.
little Matty slab. That's the word I'm looking for. Writes his name in, and we start the episode with that. And of course, obviously, it starts with this, and I'm like, all right, okay. Oh, Matty, so this is Mike and his son, okay, right. And I'm like, okay, so let's see what this is about, what it's related to as we go. And of course, we get more of the group therapy, which we've not really seen much of in a while. Anita as well, Mike's sort of his friend that he made there. We've not seen much of her in a while either. So, because it took me a second when she first walked in the scene, I'm like,
Yeah, we
who's
haven't seen her this
this?
season, right?
Not this season, no. It was last season, the last time we saw her. And they're being friendly. They've been as we've seen them be before. And he starts talking about this other guy at group therapy, who turns out to be Kevin from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is from now on I'll call him Kevin because I don't remember what
Yeah,
his actual name
I've
was.
seen him in about 100 different things. He's one of those actors that pops up in small roles everywhere.
Yes.
But I think most people will probably go with Brooklyn Nine-Nine for a while at least.
Yes. Uh, and he's telling her that, oh no, his story's bullshit. He was never married. This Judy's made up. And she's like, what are you talking about? Why would he do that? He's like, no. He always tells a story about this Cubs game, but they never had lights at night time. So they never had night games for until this year. So his story's just wrong. Like, there's an accuracy in his story. And then he's like, oh no, I bet you this is a different thing. He's got a tell. He's like, oh, every time he touches his wrist, that means he's lying. And he kind of talks her into coming. He's like, oh, why don't you come tonight? Because she was trying to ask him to wasn't a dance. It was like a music show of some kind.
Yeah, it was a friend's gig or something like
Yeah.
that.
And she's like, no, I'll come. Let's make it interesting. All right, so $10 says he changes his story about Judy again. And she's okay, you're on. And what I love about this scene, and again, much like the trigger, no, things are falling down. Much like the trigger scene earlier on for Saul when he changed his mind about the job, I love the trigger for Mike's outburst in this scene.
Mm.
My God, keyboard, would you stop falling down, you piece of shit?
This never happens, and then it's like 3 times in a row.
So Mike's sitting there, and Stacey tells this story about basically going through her morning routine with the kid, and she didn't think about Matty. This is the first, one of the first mornings she's just not thought about him in hours, and this is clearly affecting Mike. Banks is doing some great acting in this scene. This is one of his solid performances. You can see his face quivering, his breathing even was telling me things about how he was feeling. It was very, very good, very intricate. So she tells a story, and then Kevin jumps in after she makes her final point and says, "Oh, I understand what you mean. It's just like Judy," and he starts talking about Judy, and the fact that he's taking her real pain about Mike's son and using that into his fake story, you can tell instantly that Mike wants to snap this guy's head off.
You can. And do you know what I love about this here as well? Is his reaction. He still doesn't break that, that character of, okay, no, I'm the silent one. He just makes a noise. He goes, oh, and waits for them to prod him for more. Like, he waits for them to entice information.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
Trying to just see how much he can get out of them before.
They ask him to speak, and he's like, "You don't want me to?" And he's like, no, everyone's here if you're ready to speak. And then at the end, after he says everything he says, "Well, you wanted me to talk. I talked."
Yeah.
And it's almost like he wanted them to ask just so it's like, I don't have to feel bad about this. I can just go for it. But both Stacey and Anita are kind of looking at him throughout this, because he basically calls him out and says, "No, Judy's not real. Just tell us, admit it, because all these facts don't act up. There's inaccuracies," and he points a couple of them out. And Kevin storms out, emotional, somewhat confirming that there's truth to what he's saying, and he's sitting there, and it's this really awkward, tense, emotional scene.
Yeah.
And again, obviously, this is back to the title of the episode. He talked. You want me to talk? I talked. So it's good stuff. And I think, because again, I think both Kim and Mike in this episode are interesting because they have very specific, subtle shifts in their character, where I think it's not immediately clear until you start digging into it why they're acting the way they're acting in this episode.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we have Kevin as a trigger. That's the obvious part, and then that leads to later on. He's being kind of a dick, more of a dick even at his fake job, where he's chastising them for not to double stack that. What does that say?
Yeah.
And so on, and then obviously the scene with Gus, where he's very, not that he was ever nice to Gus before, but he seems just there's an extra tinge of
blunter than usual.
Yeah, it's just an extra tinge of it. And
do you know what it was? It was that can't be asked. I'm fed up. Just whatever it is, just get it over with.
Yeah, and I think it's when Stacey told the story, because he was fine at the diner with Anita. He was actually fine,
yeah.
And even though he was talking about Kevin and him lying, it was all very kind of jovial, as jovial as Mike gets, where he's talking to Anita and they're making this bet about him, right?
Yeah, it was kind of friendly banter almost.
Yeah. But after Stacey's story, which I think is the real thing that gets to him here, is obviously the fact that Kevin then uses that for his fake stuff, obviously is a big trigger, but I think even just Stacey's story on its own hurts, because I think it maybe made him realize that he maybe forgets his son more often.
Doesn't think about him enough.
Yeah, than he's realized, and I think he feels guilty about that. Um, so there's a lot of guilt going around basically in this show.
This show could just be called Guilt.
Yes,
In fact, you could probably call it Guilty and get away with it and play up the law
lawyer,
drama.
the lawyer thing, yeah. So I think he's guilty about that. I think that's why the flashbacks there at the start. I think that's is that even a memory that he's
Yeah, I think is that supposed to be something he is actively remembering, or is it more just setting a tone of, okay, no, this is the sort of thing that he did with his son.
I wonder if it's I wonder if it's a memory he's forgotten.
Could be. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, is this one that's faded away and he can't remember it? I don't know. It'd almost be a nice touch. You know how we don't see Mike's facing that, and obviously it's because he's meant to be like 25 years younger or whatever. It'd almost be nice if we didn't see the kids face in the flashback either. The idea being that he can't remember his son's face.
Yeah, I think it really goes. The part of Stacey's story is she forgot to think about it.
Yeah.
But I think the part that really gets Mike is she says, I'm scared I'm gonna forget what he looked like, what he sounded like, and she goes, I know I won't. It's impossible. But what if? And I think Mike kind of has a little bit.
Yeah, it's sad.
And I think that's what's gone to him. He didn't realize that he'd forgotten until hearing that.
Yeah, and I think it's something over the course of this show so far that he's ended up with all these jobs and these activities, and I think the more he's gotten back into the groove of having a job of some kind, even though it wasn't like a steady job, it was these odd criminal things that he was up to.
Yeah.
Because he was retired, right? He obviously had his job at the booth, but I mean that was
but he wasn't really doing. He was just sitting there for something to do.
He wasn't using his skills, right? Now he started using his skills again. It's kind of filled that void almost. And I think that's interesting. And even the idea that everyone remembers the fantastic scene from season 1 where he spoke to Stacey about what happened to his son and how he was responsible for it. And I wonder if after that he tried to stay out of any kind of sketchy activity because turning his son into that got him killed, and well, not even turn him, just told him that once, no, just take the money. But they still thought he was suspicious that they killed him anyway. Because that was the heartbreaking thing, right? As Mike said, I made my son give up who he was and they killed him anyway. That was the heartbreaking thing at the end of that scene. So good. But, and probably still the best acted scene in the entire show. And it's got a lot of competition. It really does, but...
It might well be.
That scene stands out, man.
It might well be. If not, then it might be... when Jimmy and Chuck were in the courtroom scene.
Chicanery.
Yeah. I could see that one rivaling it.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think the idea that not only has he not been thinking about his son as much because he's been busier, I think it's the idea that he is back into this life, and it was that attitude and how he was with that stuff with his son that led to his son being killed. He justified this was okay, and he tried to make his son do the same thing. I think there's a tinge of that there as well. And maybe it also makes me rethink episode 1 or 2 of this season, where and obviously we talked about how he went and did the job, as it were, partly because he wanted to cover his tracks, partly because maybe he felt guilty for not doing anything. But it was also an element of him just looking bored, and I wonder if, looking back at that scene now, it's traditionally before, when he had his booth job, when he was sitting around, was that thinking about son time, and instead he was just bored. He wasn't thinking about his son.
Or maybe even not that. It was more, like I say, when he was just sitting around, he was thinking about his son, and maybe he doesn't want to do that because he's like, no, I've got to distract myself.
Oh yeah, maybe he's realizing he intentionally keeps busy so he doesn't have to think about his son.
Yeah.
Yeah. This idea that he actively tries to avoid it, whereas Stacey's upset that she accidentally didn't think about him for the day, and because there's the moment afterwards when she says that story, and the guy running the meeting says, "Oh, I mean, I'm not sure, but that sounds like you're healing. That sounds like it's healthy that you don't think about him all the time." And again, Mike's acting there, his reaction, every line of dialogue, his face was giving me something, and that one in particular, it was real discomfort, wait, I'm supposed to feel healthy that I'm avoiding this. Doesn't feel
Yeah.
healthy,
No,
kind of thing.
exactly.
So there's a lot in there. You know, it's funny. I think in terms of plot, this is one of the most laid back episodes of the show because there's not really a whole lot of advancement in
I
things
feel that
per
about
plot.
all of this season.
Hmm.
This season has been the most relaxed in terms of the plot of the show. So, and you know, the show's been pretty relaxed throughout its span
I think it makes
already.
sense to me in a lot of ways because it's after the big this I mean, death of Chuck is kind of this pinnacle moment in the show. It kind of makes sense to me that right now for the first half, maybe a good even more of that of this season, we're kind of resetting the table
Yeah,
almost.
everything's kind of slowing down, right?
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me to build back up
No,
because
it
because
it does.
because we didn't get to all the like the big drama stuff in season 3 overnight. That took 2 seasons to build up to.
Two and a half.
Yeah. So no, I feel like it just makes a lot of sense. But the thing about this show is that it handles the small character beats and the character drama so well that I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, why is there no exciting things
It's
happening?
Yeah, it's only when we sit and talk about it afterwards that I go, kind of nothing really happened in a plot sense.
Yeah, Jimmy
Obviously,
had the
lots of
idea.
things happened
Yeah,
in
Jimmy
a
had the
character.
idea to do with the store. Nacho figured out what Gus is up to, and Gus is trying to get Mike for a new job. Like that was basically that's your plot, right
Yeah,
there.
exactly. It's very minimal,
Yeah,
but you don't really realize it while you're watching it because you're just so engrossed in the moments because it's so well just put together. Everything about it is
executed. It's well
yeah,
executed.
it is. It is. That's a good word for it.
But yeah, no, I mean, this episode's not going to be one that I think ever tops any like best of Saul lists, but there's absolutely nothing to fault with it
I
either.
I think this is representative of a average episode. Like this is what you can expect as just okay, here's your standard episode of Saul.
Which is a pretty good standard to have.
No, it is like there's nothing that's that's particularly exciting or particularly amazing, right? It's just it does everything exactly how it always does. It's just chugging along.
Yeah. And like I say, I think there's always a sign of great character work and obviously great acting when I can see light bulbs inside heads. And not just with the Saul scene, like, you know, with Mike, like, just, I know what he's thinking at several points. With Kim, I get elements of that. Um, the show's so good. I mean, that was something Breaking Bad was also fantastic of. It makes sense it's the same team. You could constantly see that in Walt's head and Hank's head, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing. Skylar was big for it actually. You could always sort of, especially when she started to like suspect what her husband was up to, you could
Mm.
always get what was running through her mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Putting the pieces together.
yeah. So no, but that's this week's Saul. And sorry we're a day late. Usually we get these up on Tuesday night. This is Wednesday night. Just some scheduling kerfuffles, but here we are. So we'll be back next week with episode 5. So look forward to that. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel and the reviews and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You get some bonuses, you get some things early, but mostly you get to have a mildly fuzzy feeling in your stomach for supporting us. I like saying that because
I know you do.
it incorporates her name into the pitch. Okay, what do you want from me? But you can do that for as little as $1 per month, and you can, that's more than we'd get from watching ads. Although that said, if you can't support us on Patreon, then watch the ads because that does help, as does like and subscribing and all the other stuff. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?